Look at the runway. A machine the size of a city block stands motionless there. Inside, hundreds of tons of metal, fuel, and people. The engines rise to a roar. A few seconds, and this massive structure lifts off the concrete. It seems as though a fundamental law of nature is being broken before your eyes. But no, not a single law is violated here. On the contrary, each one of them is used with near-perfect precision. Scientists of the last century were convinced of the opposite. They did not believe that air could support an object weighing hundreds of tons. After all, air is emptiness. It is nothing, something we pass through without even noticing. How can nothing hold 500 tons of iron at an altitude of 11 kilometers? And yet a flow of air lifts this machine, lifts it, and does not let it go. To grasp the true scale, a comparison is needed. Take 250 passenger cars. Line them up bumper to bumper. That line will stretch exactly 1 kilometer. Now weigh it all together. That mass equals the weight of a single empty airplane before takeoff. An entire convoy of cars 1 kilometer long. That is merely the frame of one winged machine. But where does all this weight come from? Approximately 1/3 of the maximum mass is aviation fuel. It is pumped into reservoirs hidden inside the wings themselves. That is to say, the wings are not simply flat surfaces, but enormous fuel tanks. The remaining weight is distributed differently. Heavy turbofan engines, complex life support systems, passengers with their luggage. Add it all together, and you get a figure of 500 tons. At the dawn of aviation, the very idea of such a machine was considered madness. Scientists and mathematicians openly declared such aircraft are impossible, and they relied not on superstition, but on rigorous science. The matter concerned the square-cube law. Its essence is simple yet merciless. When you increase the size of an object, its weight grows far faster than its surface area. Double the size, and the volume and mass will grow many times more than the wing area. From this followed a grim conclusion. Scientists believed that the wing area would simply be insufficient to lift such a colossal weight into the air. Engineers feared something even worse. They were convinced that no material could withstand the load, that the machine would break apart during the takeoff roll, never having left the ground. There were even theories that folded back upon themselves. They claimed that to lift a craft weighing hundreds of tons, engines the size of the aircraft itself would be needed. The result was a closed circle of unachievable conditions. Each requirement gave rise to a new one, even more impossible to fulfill. And yet today, 500-ton structures take off every day, routinely, on schedule, thousands of times. Gravity has not gone anywhere. It still pulls this machine toward the ground at every moment, but humanity found a way. It directed the energy of motion directly against Earth's gravitational pull. It did not cancel the force of gravity, but set another force against it. And to understand how this works, we begin with the most alarming part, the wings themselves. There is a place where wings are pushed to their limits. It is the test hangar. There, the fuselage of a future aircraft is secured, still without engines, without finishing, without interior fittings. Only the bare frame, the bare structure. Dozens of steel cables are attached to the wings. Powerful hydraulic pistons are connected to them. And then the main test begins. The mechanisms slowly pull the wingtips upward. The metal resists. It produces sounds resembling a muffled groan. At times, like distant muted thunder somewhere far away, the wingtips rise higher and higher. They pass the mark of 2 meters above the normal level. Then they rise even higher, above 5 meters. The wings bend like the branches of a young tree in a storm. They flex with incredible force, but they do not break. They do not crack. They do not fail. That is where the entire secret lies. The secret is in the elasticity of the structure. Imagine if the wing were rigid and immovable. That would have been the intuitive idea, to make it as stiff as possible. But it is precisely such a wing that would snap at the first serious jolt. Rigidity here is not strength, but weakness. Flexibility, that is the true armor. Modern aviation alloys are responsible for this. They are created on the basis of titanium and aluminum, and they work like a giant shock absorber. The wings support all 500 tons of weight. At the same time, their flexibility dampens the blows of air currents. Every gust, every air pocket, every jolt, all of it is absorbed by the flex. Take a closer look at what happens inside the wing. Structural beams run through it, the load-bearing framework of the entire construction. Under load, each such beam changes shape. It bends together with the wing, and when the load disappears, it returns to its original state. It returns without any damage, without signs of fatigue, again and again, millions of times over the entire life of the aircraft. There is a persistent myth that frightens many people. It is said that a wing can break off from turbulence, that severe shaking can snap it right there in the sky. But tests show the opposite. There are virtually no recorded cases of a serviceable airliner wing failing, specifically from bending in the air. Such cases practically do not exist. The reason is simple and at the same time striking. The wing's safety margin exceeds any natural loads by several times. Nature is simply incapable of creating a force that would surpass this margin. Now let us return to the runway. The aircraft begins its takeoff roll. The needle counts off the speed step by step. 100 kilometers per hour, 150, 200. The fuselage visibly shudders from the resistance of the air surface. Every additional unit of speed comes with greater difficulty, and in this takeoff roll there is one invisible boundary. It is called the point of no return. This is the speed figure beyond which braking is no longer possible. The pilots have no right to do so. Physically, they do not. The runway remaining ahead is simply not enough to stop. After this mark, there is only one single path, upward into the sky. There is no way back anymore. And what gives the aircraft this speed? Every second of the takeoff roll burns hundreds of liters of kerosene. The fuel is converted into pure kinetic energy of motion. This power is born in the turbofan engines. These are among the most complex mechanisms ever created by human beings. Their internal structure is the pinnacle of engineering thought. The scale of the engine's work is hard to comprehend. Every second, it processes a colossal volume of air. Imagine the air that fills an entire football stadium. That is exactly the volume the engine passes through itself in 1 second. Inside the engine, a controlled explosion takes place. It ejects a scorching jet of gases far backward. This resembles a tamed, controlled elemental force inside a metal casing. But here, an unexpected truth is hidden. The greater part of the thrust is born not from the burning of fuel at all. The main work is done by the giant fan at the engine's inlet. It throws enormous masses of cold air backward. In essence, this works like an immensely powerful propeller. It is precisely this flow of cold air that pushes the aircraft forward. The fire inside is important, but it is only part of the picture. And once again, a myth is born, one that frightens passengers. It is said that an engine can be stalled by a single bird or by heavy rain that floods the mechanism, but tests once again prove the opposite. Engines are tested under the harshest conditions. Rigs grind through tons of water and ice, and yet they do not lose thrust. They continue to operate as if nothing has happened. What seems like a deadly threat is, for the engine, merely a routine moment. But right now, the most important part begins. The aircraft has gathered speed, and aerodynamics comes into play. At a speed of 800 kilometers per hour, air changes its nature. It ceases to be weightless and invisible. It becomes something like thick jelly. It envelops the aircraft from all sides. It exerts powerful resistance against every centimeter of the skin. That which we walk through without noticing becomes here an almost dense substance. Sometimes this invisible process can be seen with one's own eyes. It happens in rain or at high humidity. Then strange white trails appear above the wing. Misty threads emerge, running along the surface. Many people are frightened. They think it is smoke or a malfunction. But it is neither one nor the other. It is moisture from the air that has condensed. It seems to reveal the invisible boundaries of the airflows. It draws in the sky what is usually hidden from sight. Take a closer look at these milky streams. They press tightly against the skin of the wing. They run along its surface, all the way to the edge. Then they break away from the trailing edge. And there they curl into tightly woven spirals. This is the movement of air, made visible for a few seconds. Behind all of this stands the shape of the wing. Its profile is designed with extraordinary precision. The upper surface is arranged so that the air above it moves faster than the flow beneath the wing from below. This difference in speed is the key to everything. For here, a strict physical law comes into effect. The rule goes like this: the faster a flow moves, the lower its pressure. Now let's connect this to the shape of a wing. On top, the air rushes quickly, meaning the pressure drops there. A zone of rarefied space forms above the aircraft. This is a zone of reduced pressure, almost a vacuum, and it works like a giant vacuum cleaner. It literally pulls the machine upward, not pushing, but pulling, sucking it into the sky. But this is only half of the force. A different process takes place below. The lower flow strikes the wing at a slight angle, and this impact creates an additional lifting effect. It turns out that two forces act on the machine simultaneously. From below, high pressure propping up the wing. From above, low pressure pulling it upward. And the sky holds the airliner exactly between these two forces. Caught between high and low pressure, it flies. A common myth also lives here. People think the aircraft stays up only thanks to repulsion, as if it pushes off the air the way a boat pushes off water. But that is not the case. This is only a small part of the truth. In reality, the greater part of the work falls on the suction force, on that very zone of rarefaction above. The aircraft does not so much rest on the air as hang beneath it. It is drawn upward by the vacuum above the wing. Now imagine that the flight is ending. The machine begins its descent, and a low, unsettling hum rings through the cabin. Many passengers mistake it for a malfunction. It seems as though something in the structure has broken, but this is not a breakdown. This is the wing beginning to transform. The wing literally separates into layers right in flight. Metal sections weighing several tons slide backward. They extend out from the wing and drop downward. All of this is accompanied by the grinding of hydraulic actuators. Before your eyes, the wing changes its shape and size. Its area increases by almost a quarter. The profile becomes sharply curved. It takes on a shape resembling the dome of a parachute. Why is this transformation necessary? The answer lies in speed. This mechanization allows the speed to be drastically reduced to a point at which an ordinary stone would simply fall. The aircraft, however, continues to fly steadily. It stays airborne where everything else falls. But during the approach to landing, a difficulty arises. The engines reduce their revolutions for the descent, and that invisible support from above begins to disappear. The rarefaction above the wing weakens together with the speed. This is exactly where the moving parts of the wing come to the rescue. These are the flaps and slats. They artificially increase the surface area of the wing, and a greater area and a stronger curve produce more lift, even at low speed, even during slow movement. Imagine a swimmer in the water. He spreads his palms wide to the sides. This way, he captures more water with each stroke. The wing does the same thing with its flaps. It opens its palms to meet the air and captures more of it, compensating for the loss of speed. Once again, there is a frightening myth about this moment. They say, if the wing deployment mechanism seize up, the aircraft will fall, as if landing without flaps is impossible. But this is not true. Pilots are specially trained to land the aircraft without flaps as well. In such a case, they maintain a dangerously high speed. They hold it all the way until the moment of touchdown. This is more difficult, it requires skill, but it is entirely possible and safe. There is yet another phenomenon, invisible but powerful. It is born from the very tips of the wings. There, the air spins into powerful horizontal funnels. These are real little tornadoes trailing behind the aircraft, and they trail for many kilometers behind. These funnels do not disappear immediately. They retain their force for a very long time, 5 minutes, and sometimes as long as 10 minutes. All this time, they slowly descend toward the ground, and they hang in the air, invisible, along the flight path. Imagine a small private aircraft. It takes off just a few minutes after a giant, and flies straight into the zone of these vortices. The light vessel is thrown from side to side. It is tossed so violently that it can overturn. Behind this stands an immutable law of nature. To generate lift, a price must be paid. The aircraft must push the air downward with equal force. However much force pulls it upward, that much air it hurls beneath itself, and this expelled air goes nowhere. It is precisely what gives rise to those very vortex tornadoes behind. And here again an exaggerated fear arises. Some believe that vortices are capable of bringing down even a large airliner, as if one aircraft can topple another, a heavy one. But modern research shows something different. For heavy aircraft, this is more of an unpleasant shaking. It is discomfort, but not a real threat. For small aviation, however, everything is different. For light aircraft, it is one of the main causes of accidents, especially in areas near airports, where everything is concentrated. And now the final stage of the flight arrives. The ground approaches rapidly from below. The angle of descent seems very steep to passengers. It feels as though the aircraft is falling straight onto the runway. And then the touchdown occurs. The tires meet the surface at a speed of 300 kilometers per hour. At that very moment, they take on the entire weight. All 500 tons of the fuselage press down upon them. Billows of smoke tear away from the multi-layered tires. Black, acrid smoke from friction against the concrete. The landing gear struts compress to their very limit. They work like powerful springs, absorbing the impact. And at that same moment, the engine cowlings open. A stream of air is directed forward, not backward. This is thrust reversal. The reverser roars. The entire aircraft shudders from its operation. It helps to brake this enormous machine. The roar of the turbines gradually dies down. It transitions into an even, calm hiss. The aircraft slows and comes to a standstill. The flight is complete. So let us return to the main question. How does a 500-ton machine stay in the sky? The answer is now obvious. Humanity has not defeated gravity. Humanity has not deceived nature or broken its laws. The entire process is the perfect application of those laws. Every curve of the wing, every flow, every vortex, all according to the rules of physics. For the wing, air is not emptiness. For the wing, air is a solid foundation, almost as reliable as steel rails for a train. The aircraft rests upon it just as confidently. The entire secret lies in equilibrium, in the balance between the speed of movement and the pressure of the flows. Speed gives rise to a difference in pressure. The difference in pressure gives rise to lift, and this force holds the giant in the sky. Finally, about the last fear. It is said that modern aircraft fly at the very edge of what is possible, that at any moment they may lose lift. But the facts tell a completely opposite story. The safety margin is manifold. The lift margin is enormous. These machines are far from any limit. Their safety is guaranteed not by luck, but by the laws of nature themselves. The very same laws that scientists once did not believe in. The air, which was considered incapable of supporting hundreds of tons, supports them every single day, quietly, reliably, and without a single exception.